So, and it is also said that, you become very close to the five people you interact with. And if somehow young civil servants are interacting with the negativity around themselves, they are interacting with the people who are telling them, oh, being honest is not that good. Or, your ethical choices may have costs, but the otherwise not. So, so there needs to be a system in place.
Yes.
Where that
And
positive.
it can be done. I mean, I'm convinced about it.
Can be, sir. It can be. It can be. I think the word needs to get out that there is a requirement of such system. Sir, you were once posted in Investment Corporation of State.
Yes.
And there you helped many corrupt officials, rather, to see the other side, to see or to become a better person.
You shouldn't say that I helped them. It was a situation where an occasion arose where it was first of my experiment with an extremely dishonest officer to attempt to show him the positive side of being honest. Fortunately, I succeeded. I could have failed. That person understood the importance of what I was telling him, and then he tasted honesty, and he tasted the consequences of honesty, and he continued to remain honest even after I left, which was a pleasant surprise to me because I had not had such an experience before. So here was an officer who had the reputation of being extremely dishonest, suddenly discovers that the kick that he got out of doing something good, honestly, and wanted to continue to live in that feeling of kick.
So how did he do that? Because currently many of my friends also, so they are posted here and there, and they're always troubled. Okay, I am honest, but what do I do with the subordinates?
So the problem is that we attempt to do to others more than to ourselves. And I keep telling officers when I used to go to the academy, I used to tell them, for the time being, stop worrying about others, even your subordinates. Focus on yourself. And if you can be honest, then that domain will gradually increase. Now, there will be dishonest subordinates, there will be dishonest superiors. So there, you have to express what you feel is correct. Okay. Now, if dishonesty means illegality, then obviously you will not do anything. Sometimes we confuse between something which is right and wrong legally to something which we think right and wrong. So this difference between our value system and illegality has to be understood. I try to bring out in my book. Sometimes, and some officers suffer on account of that. They think what they think is right, though there's no legality in it. So my approach was very simple on that. If I thought what was right, I will try and convince my boss about what I thought was right. And if I was overruled and what he said was not illegal, I did what he told me to. I would not stand by saying this is right. The distinction between legality and your value system has to be understood very clearly.
Very clear.
Much of the problems that civil servants have is they try to think that their value system is the best value system and everyone should adhere to it. No. We must clearly understand what is laid down in the law. If it is illegal, don't do it. And I initially when I suffered on account of getting transferred was on account of this, because I thought all politicians were rascals. They were bad. So whatever they told me, I took it differently. Gradually, I realized, we may disagree. He may have a different value system. Yeah. So long as he's not telling me anything illegal, I should have the communication skills to convince him. And mind you, I have not counted it, but almost in 90-95% cases, I was able to convince the politician. If he tells me 10% things which he overrules me and which is not illegal, why should I fight with him? I should accept it.
He also has a popular mandate.
I'll give you an example. And I learned it early in my career. I was additional registrar cooperatives looking after banking, known to be a very corrupt department. One of the sources of corruption was transfers and postings. And there was a particular category in which a lot of money changed hands where husband and wife wanted to be posted together. Now, what is wrong in that? I can have a principle, no, it should go by system, this, that. So they used to approach politicians and politicians used to put pressure and get them together. So I came up with a formulation, said that if these conditions are fulfilled, they should be posted together.
Exactly.
And that formulation worked. Now the point is, I could have said, no, they should be separate, this, that. I may have a value system. But my value system, if it is in conflict with somebody else, and there's no law involved in it, and that somebody else happens to be my boss, then what is the point in fighting? I have seen officers wearing their honesty here on the sleeve, and doing nothing. And one chapter in my book is honesty alone is not enough. Honesty is a necessary condition for a civil servant, but not a sufficient condition.
Sufficient.
He has to be efficient. Now, in this becoming efficient, you have to accommodate people. Accommodation means that someone is requesting you for something which is not illegal. But in your value system, you think it is not. Your attempt should be to help. If an officer establishes a reputation of a doer, he does things. If you say no to somebody, he will not feel hurt. So you will be a sought after officer. They will say, गलत काम तो नहीं करेगा, लेकिन काम बहुत अच्छा करता है.
काम कर देगा at least.
And I can tell you, after 15 years of my career, no one came to me with a wrong recommendation. I was not. People ask me, you held sensitive assignments like Coal Secretary, Education Secretary. Were you ever under political pressure? No. Because the politician knew कि मैं गलत काम करूंगा ही नहीं, तो कहता ही नहीं था. That is the problem.
Sir, and it is also said, in our department also it was said that image of an officer travels faster than the officer.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So that image is very essential. Sometimes,
not image building.
Not image building.
That's the social media part. These days I find young officers using social media to promote themselves. It's a tragedy. It's a tragedy. I'll tell you why. Because social media is a great instrument of conveying information, of telling people around. But not build yourself. I see officers, वो मीटिंग का सोशल मीडिया में डालना है, कहीं फीता काट रहा है सोशल मीडिया में डालना है, अच्छे कपड़े पहने सोशल मीडिया में डालना है. भाई क्या मतलब है? You are an officer. Behave like an officer. Use social media to the hilt, because social media is a phenomenal tool. I'll tell you, I didn't know much about it. When I was coal secretary and we were having these coal block auctions, and I used to receive calls till late in the night because auctions were on and people wanted information. So my sense asked me, क्या कर रहे हैं आप? मैंने कहा लोग पूछते हैं, मैं बता रहा हूँ. बोली क्यों करते हैं आप? ट्विटर पे ट्वीट कर दीजिए, सबको पता लग जाएगा. I didn't know Twitter then. So I joined the Twitter and started tweeting on it. The coal auction latest
dates and
all details. India Today called me a Twitter secretary because I was using Twitter to the hilt. I do that even now. Now, social media can be used for dissemination of information, and we must understand the distinction between building one's own image, which they can do after retirement, but not in service.
Not in service.
Service, you have to promote what the government says, what the policies are, how the implementation is happening, not yourself.
Sir, I generally call it the syndrome, Singham syndrome. That
it is somewhat a Singham syndrome. Though I have not seen the movie, I understand what you're telling me.
So, Singham syndrome is like now, if you are a police officer or if you are an IAS officer, you just want to show that, you are holding a power. And it's okay if you have some personal opinion about something. Again, it should not be on some social media till the time you are in service.
When some of the officers get bashed on the social media, they then realize there's something wrong. You should not appear in, so to say, it should not be a personal affair. An officer is an officer is an officer. Personal is a personal.
Absolutely.
It can't be mixed. The two cannot be mixed. And I see people, their fashion shows virtually. I see officers and I feel sad. What are they? Are they officers or they're showing off?
Sir, some youngsters do not even differentiate between the dignity of the office. I have seen, I myself talk to many young officers and I tell them, whatever it is, maintain the dignity. The clothes you wear, the way you talk to other people. If you are talking in slang, if you are using abusive language, nobody will start, people respect you for that authority. But yes, I think that's the degeneration the society has been, and every society deserves the kind of leadership it has. So that's one thing, sir. So apart from that, I also read in your book that you also faced a lot of personal challenges because of the ethical front that you kept. So what were those challenges?
To begin with, you face those challenges because people don't understand you and you don't understand people. But gradually they come to understand. So, for example, in Hardoi, when I took an MLA on, so I was transferred out. At that point in time, I felt very dejected because I thought I'd done the right thing and yet I got transferred. But my whole approach to transfer underwent a change. I gradually realized transfer is like death and it happens to every person. But like in Hindu philosophy, you're born again. So what is the big deal? Why worry about it? So I stopped worrying about it. I distinctly remember in another case where my minister wanted me to suspend a deputy director without any fault of his. And the order was legitimate in the sense that the minister had the authority to suspend that officer. I didn't know how to help him. So I sent the file to the chief secretary, because that was the protocol, that if I disagreed with the minister, I could send the file to the chief secretary. I sent it to him. He sat on the file. So the minister was probably upset or whatever. He spoke to the chief minister and I was transferred out. On this occasion, I was fine with it. But chief secretary was very upset. He said, usko bachane ke chakkar mein tumhara transfer ho gaya. I said, sir, kyun pareshan hote hain? For a civil servant, transfer is like death. And in any case, sir, you are going to post me somewhere else. Mera to punarjanm hoga. Main वहाँ जाके काम करूंगा. तो हंसने लगे वो. So it's, as I keep saying, आपकी attitude, it's your own attitude that matters. If you develop that attitude of looking at positives of everything that is happening to you, you will be a happier man, you will be a better man, you will be a successful person. That takes time to understand. It took a lot of time as far as I was concerned, 10 to 15 years before I understood all this. But then life became very easy. Initial 10, 15 years were difficult in the sense that I was ending up fighting with most of the people around.